wild how a Disney dream can turn into a public disaster overnight. Just a year ago, Rachel Zegler was being primed as the next face of Disney royalty, the kind of star who graces red carpets. Somewhere between her casting announcement and the movie's debut, that dream completely collapsed. And it wasn't just bad luck or a few tough reviews, it was something deeper. Almost like the entire universe turned its back on a girl. Rachel's downfall didn't begin with her acting or a box office failure. It started with her voice. In multiple interviews, she openly criticized the very foundation of Disney's legacy, fairy tales. She called the original Snow White outdated. She questioned why the princess needed rescuing. She even said the prince seemed like a stalker. Now, for a modern audience that enjoys edgy reboots, that might have worked. But this wasn't just any film. It was the film. Snow White was the original, the cornerstone of the entire Disney empire. So when Rachel attempted to modernize it, fans didn't applaud. They pushed back. For those raised on the 1937 classic, watching their child, Disney was caught in a tough spot. They had already poured around $350 million into the film, Marvel-level money. But instead of headlines about amazing CGI or a killer soundtrack, the media was focused on Rachel's interviews and the growing rumor that she wasn't even proud of the film she was supposed to be promoting. Then came the Sigüenza event, Disney's last-ditch attempt to course correct. They organized a promo performance at the Alcazar of Sigüenza, the stunning Spanish castle that inspired the original Snow White palace. It had all the ingredients for a magical moment. Fairy tale backdrop, Rachel in a dreamy dress, singing Waiting on a Wish. But instead of a buzzing red carpet, the crowd was a modest mix of influencers, journalists, and a few local kids. The vibe wasn't Enchanted Kingdom. It felt more like a school recital. To make matters worse, Gal Gadot, Rachel's co-star as the evil queen, didn't even show up. She skipped the entire event. It was just Rachel and director Mark Webb posing for cameras, trying to look like everything was okay. But in Rachel's face, you could see something was off. Then she vanished. No more press appearances, no interviews. When Snow White finally hit theaters, Rachel had become a ghost. She reappeared only once, spotted walking in New York City, makeup-free, messy bun, oversized denim over a brown hoodie. She looked nothing like a Disney princess. Puffy eyes, a blank stare, like someone who already knew the fairy tale was over before the credits even rolled. Critics weren't kind either. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a brutal 40%. IMDb was even harsher, a shocking 1.6 out of 10. That's the kind of score you expect from a broken indie game, not a $350 million Disney blockbuster. At the box office, the disaster was undeniable. Disney spent over $350 million and barely recovered $184 million. This wasn't just a flop, it was a full-blown crisis. And at the center stood Rachel Zegler, the princess who never made it to her castle. Rachel didn't just lose a movie role, she lost control of the narrative. And once that slipped away, the internet did what it does best: tear someone down meme by meme. Twitter threads, TikToks, YouTube commentaries. Everyone had something to say, and none of it was kind. The issue wasn't even her performance. It was her attitude, or at least the version of it people saw online. There was a growing feeling that Rachel didn't appreciate being Snow White, that instead of honoring the legacy, she rolled her eyes at it. And audiences noticed. Every sarcastic smirk in an interview, every woke one-liner about outdated princesses, it all added up. Rachel had a reputation for speaking her mind. She wasn't groomed for media like some of her peers. She openly talked about politics, gender roles, power dynamics, all the topics Disney usually avoids. In another context, that honesty might have been praised. But for Snow White, a film rooted in tradition, it was a deal breaker. Then came the casting controversy. From the moment Disney announced Rachel as the new Snow White, opinions were split. Some praised the choice, a Colombian actress stepping into an iconic role. Others clung to the original image, skin as white as snow, just like the Brothers Grimm described. It wasn't only about race, it was emotional. People tied that imagery to their childhood. Changing it felt like rewriting history. Rachel didn't back down. In a now deleted post, she fired back, "Yes, I am Snow White. No, I'm not bleaching my skin for the role." It was bold, maybe too bold for a fan base already on edge. The backlash intensified. She was labeled arrogant, disrespectful, ungrateful. Trolls flooded her comment sections. Influencers dissected every interview, frame by frame, analyzing every word, every look, every outfit. And where was Gal Gadot, the evil queen in all of this? Stunning, experienced, media trained. At a time when Rachel needed backup, Gal was missing. Sure, they smiled together at the Oscars and the premiere, but fans weren't convinced. There was no warmth, no chemistry. Rumors flew about behind-the-scenes tension. Two leads who couldn't stand each other, possibly due to political differences. That tension hit its peak when the trailer finally dropped. But instead of discussing the visuals or soundtrack, the conversation turned political. Rachel had posted some intense political opinions after the 2024 election, and one post in particular set off a firestorm. She later deleted it and issued an apology, but the damage was already done. At that point, it wasn't just about the movie, it became about who she was and what she stood for. Disney, known for handling scandals with quiet precision, responded in a low-key way. Instead of a major premiere, they opted for a subdued daytime event at the El Capitan Theater. No fanfare, no screaming crowds, just a controlled photo session and a short screening. It felt less like a celebration and more like a company fulfilling a contract they'd already given up on. Rachel didn't appear. She went completely silent. No press interviews, no social media posts, no paparazzi. It was as if she had disappeared into the shadows of her own fairy tale, hoping to wait out the storm. But online, the storm was only getting started. Amid all the chaos, something surreal happened. Rachel was spotted sitting quietly in a nearly empty theater and watching her own film. No handlers, no entourage, just her and a few friends tucked away in the back row. That image stuck with people. It felt like the final page of what was supposed to be a victory story, now reduced to a Hollywood tragedy. This wasn't how Disney blockbusters were supposed to go. No one expected the lead actress of a $350 million film to be hiding from the spotlight, skipping promotions, quietly watching her own project crash. It was humiliating. And for someone who once radiated confidence and charisma, it had to sting. Across theaters, the silence echoed. Empty rows. Screenings that felt more like rehearsals than actual premieres. Not even Discount Tuesdays could draw in an audience. The buzz had vanished. Viewers weren't just uninterested, they were avoiding it on purpose. The phrase ultimate woke flop started trending in YouTube thumbnails and Reddit threads. And Rachel's name was the headline of it all. The most painful part? It wasn't entirely her fault. Yes, she made a few tone-deaf statements. Yes, she pushed back against tradition. But this failure wasn't just about her public image. The movie itself lacked soul. Despite its colossal budget, the visuals felt artificial. The plot was confusing, and the magic of the original fairy tale had been stripped away, replaced by a clumsy, overly modern rewrite. Audiences weren't looking for a feminist lecture in the middle of a CGI fantasy. They wanted wonder. They wanted heart. Instead, the film gave them cold dialogue, shallow characters, and the uncomfortable feeling that even the actors weren't buying into the story. And when your lead actress is spending more time fending off Twitter mobs than championing the film, the cracks start to show. Fast. Disney threw everything at it. Carefully managed interviews, scripted sound bites, filtered Instagram stories. But it was too late. The internet had already chosen a scapegoat, and Rachel became the face of everything people hated about modern Hollywood. Even her fans began to drift away. Not out of anger, but because she looked worn out. The girl who once stole hearts in West Side Story now looked like she was barely holding it together. The ambition was gone from her eyes, replaced with exhaustion, tension, and a look far older than her age. Behind the scenes, whispers grew louder. Rachel was being quietly removed from future Disney projects. Sponsorships disappeared. Some insiders called her too controversial. Others simply said she needed time off. Either way, doors that had once opened eagerly were now closing, one by one. And yet, there's something painfully human about how it all unraveled. Watching someone go from Disney's rising star to Hollywood's warning sign in under a year isn't just shocking, it's tragic. Because under all the memes, critiques, and viral think pieces was a young woman who once just dreamed of playing a princess. And maybe that's the saddest part of all. Not that she failed, but that when the fairy tale collapsed, no one stayed behind to ask if she was okay. The curtain dropped, the spotlight faded, and Rachel Zegler was left standing alone. No applause, no encore. Just silence.